Hey guys, today we're going to do a short little video on LinkedIn lead generation. And I think one of the things a lot of people miss on LinkedIn lead generation is they just don't really kind of think through all the little details and nuance. They either just assume they got to go in there with ads, which you can certainly do that, but I think it's probably one of the least productive, especially if you haven't kind of built your brand out in a significant way. But there's just kind of some simple rhythms that you can get into that will just inherently generate leads in kind of this classic true networking sense. So when I go into the LinkedIn platform, I think about sort of a conference, right? And that's the context I go into it. That's the way I network. That's the way I build my campaigns. So let me take you through a real easy 4-step process to start LinkedIn lead generation. So the first thing that you're going to do is simply a follow campaign. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can certainly look through your feed. You probably already over time collected a fair number of folks that are in your feed that are probably your ICP. Just naturally, based on maybe some things that you've done in the past to connect to people, interactions and relationships you've had. You've already collected some people in your following in LinkedIn. And you can kind of take a look. You'll probably be actually surprised at this. If you kind of look into your profile, you'll look at followers. Now, this is something that you probably don't think about. You think probably more about connections, but followers are people that are just naturally following your content. And there's a variety of different ways that they become followers, but you'll probably be surprised at how big this number is. So to start that follow campaign, you can just make sure that you're following some of the key people. So you don't actually have to connect to them. An even better way to do this, if you're willing to pay for the subscription, and if you're in the B2B marketing role, you probably have a Sales Navigator subscription. This is a really great way to go in here. There's accounts, there's leads, there's some different things here, but I like to actually build searches here, right? And you can ultimately build some searches, create some lead and account filters. I always start with the lead filter that will allow you to literally, you've already probably built out an ICP in a document. You can build out that ICP by using these toggles, and then after this, you'll essentially end up with a saved search. This is what I run to do my follow campaign and even my connection campaign, which will be kind of the second phase of this. And you can see essentially what I've done is I've created a set. You can see down through here, this is my ICP, right? I've built out this ICP, and then what this saved search does is every time I query it, it fills up this with people that meet that criteria. And this is a constantly refreshing list. So people move in and out of this list based on job transitions and role transitions and those sorts of things. So these saved searches are actually to some degree even better than some of the things you can do with accounts and leads, which that's another video. We'll talk about Sales Navigator lead generation as well. But this is your follow list, and you can just simply go down through here. You can view these profiles. I encourage you to do that. Whenever you're going to follow somebody, go ahead and visit their profile first, and then from there, and again, you want to view it on LinkedIn, not necessarily in Sales Navigator because they won't see you. By doing this, it's actually going to show there, hey, this person viewed your LinkedIn profile. And that actually is kind of the first start to the networking, right? Speaking or a panel or sitting next to you, and you just kind of approach them, right? Make yourself sort of, again, introduce yourself, tell them who you are. And this is sort of that kind of digital form of introduction, right? They're going to see your name, your role. They can take a look at your LinkedIn profile. A lot of times you'll get a view back, and then you can just start this follow campaign. And it's just as simple as this. You don't have to do a connection request. You don't have to make it awkward. You just start following them. Now, the one thing that I do like to take a look at in here before I start following, and in this particular case I just did, but I like to go down here to recent activity, and I generally like to, one, kind of see what their activity is, but I don't follow anybody or don't connect to anybody unless they're active, right? Unless they are actually active in LinkedIn, they're doing some things, they have activities, they're doing some posts, they're responding to people. There's really no point in following that person or connecting to them if they don't do anything. So you'll run into some people that just simply, don't have any activity. They don't go into LinkedIn, right? Maybe they want to go into LinkedIn in order to update because they're going to look for a job and those sorts of things. So that's really not even worth your time. So just sort of skip over those people. So that's the first step, right? That's the follow campaign portion of the strategy. Once you're following these people, you're essentially impacting your feed here. So now that they're being followed, you're following them, their activity will start to go into here. And this is probably the most significant part of this whole process of again, generating leads. So the first thing that you want to do is just get in there, and as you're following your ICPs, tune in to what they're doing and participate, right? Come in here and make comments. This is the best way. Liking is okay, but nobody really pays attention to that. But if you make a substantive, contributing comment, then that person is definitely going to take a look at your LinkedIn feed, especially if they don't know you. And hopefully your LinkedIn profile, it's a whole separate sort of video, but hopefully your LinkedIn profile is built out well. And then as a result, that comment was definitely going to get you a view. So as you follow somebody, don't overdo this, right? But start to participate with them, right? If you have something to say, take that opportunity to comment and try to be really intentional about that. Try to leave several comments a day on those people that you're following. So that's the second step. That's your comment and liking campaign. So again, this is going to increase visibility. That's going to start to produce, and again, you can keep flipping back to your profile and taking a look at this. This is what's going to kind of generate these profile views, right? As you start to interact with that audience, it's definitely going to affect profile views. Plus, your following activity is also going to do that. The third step is to then start to produce content. So you notice up until this point, a lot of times when people talk about LinkedIn lead generation, or you get those emails like, oh, I'll generate 10 meetings a month or whatever. What do they always lead with? Is like, oh, I'm going to do this connection campaign, and I'm going to get meetings out of it. And it's really aggressive, and you've probably been the recipient of this. That's the last thing, and I do it differently. I'm going to show you exactly the script I use. But we want to build out this robust profile, and we want to start doing our own content so that as a result of that content, and I talk about this all the time, once I start actually doing my outreach, I want to have all of this content built up so that they can, again, go down rabbit trails and get lost in rabbit holes and binge my content. And that content should be demonstrating my expertise, right? Expertise in the domain, expertise around my product, and then showcase, maybe some of the things that my product can do and the solutions that I can provide. But that's really important to do that before we start connecting. So, content campaign, that's just simply posting on a regular basis, and I'm going to take you into mine. And as much as possible, you want to be a little bit diverse about this. There's also some content here. You can fill out some of these special sections, services and features. It can be really effective. But you want to have a variety of different posts in here. You can see I've got post, and I'm posting, about every day or so. I've got invites to my newsletter. I've got videos. I've got written posts. I'll show you kind of some creative things, and these are worth kind of playing with. One of this, actually reposting interesting content. Those folks that you're following can be really important. So there's an example of that. Posting out, some blog posts. Stuff like this really grabs attention. Doing something completely different. So sometimes instead of a post, or as a part of the post, I will actually write out a little note card with all the sort of the key points, and these do really well. So being able to sort of vary that, sort of cross-posting some channels. Here's another one of those. Like I said, these are really effective. Then you're going to start your content campaign. And as a result of that, you're going to post, a variety of different posts, and then ideally videos as well. If you go down in here, I haven't done one for a while. I'm doing a lot more on YouTube, but you'll see videos. Actually, I totally lied to you. I just did a video, today. So pushing out videos as well is a great way. This is getting more robust. LinkedIn is actually starting to build out kind of the Reels or YouTube Shorts, TikTok type of video experience. So I think that's a real opportunity if you're willing to get in front of the camera and do a short video and then summarize it in the post. That can be really effective. The other thing is articles. You can publish articles. You can see I've done several of those as well. A little bit of a different format. It's longer formats, kind of a little bit newsletter-like or blog post-like, a variety of these things. And then I think it's good to sort of test your content and do different types. And if you see somebody doing something interesting and maybe replicate that, the note card one was something that I saw somebody that I respected doing, and so I kind of did a similar thing in order to stand out and leveraged an idea that they did. So this variety is going to catch the eye of those people that you're starting to follow and are taking note of you. Once you have this content, you have this library that people can kind of binge and get lost in when they take a look at you for the first time. Now it's time for your connection campaign. And for the connect saves, and then I will simply go down through here and create messages to these folks. So I don't do in-mail or anything. I just do a connection request. And there's a couple things that I do. I want to take a look at their profile, and I want to look for maybe something interesting to do. If I'm doing this a little bit more at scale, I've developed a different way, right? Instead of looking for something kind of unique in there, I'm straight using this save search. And then I'm using a script that I can literally cut and paste. And I only do a few of these a day, about 20, but this saves me a lot of time because I can literally just cut and paste this. And I'm kind of proxying that sort of introduction, that conference-like introduction. So I'm not necessarily digging through their LinkedIn and finding something interesting to mention to make it unique. Instead, I'm kind of doing what I would do at a conference. I don't know you at all. I don't have anything to look at. So what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of introduce myself. This is how I do it. On the first day, this is super effective because there's so much junk coming in here. I try to make some comment about the market or some shared experience. So the ICPs that I'm talking to, a lot of them are VP. Kind of a weird time, right? We're just in front of, elections getting ready to happen. The economy is kind of softening up a little bit. Budgets are being kind of held back a bit or more conservative. And so I kind of talk to that and I just say, hey, this is kind of a weird time. And then I kind of do the value proposition. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be great to just build out your network? What's happening in the back? They're kind of thinking like, oh, yeah, this is not the most stable. Like maybe, I'll need a job or I need a connection or need somebody to help me to hit an objective in the future. They're starting to understand the value of kind of increasing their connections or their network, and that plays into it. And then what really works well is this. And you have to be careful with this. If you're going to say this, you absolutely have to honor it, right? I promise there's no sales pitch on the other side of this connection, right? Because what normally happens, you connect, next thing, hey, let's get on a discovery call, an offshore lead generation kind of approach. So I'm going to tell them right up front, there's no sales pitch. And then I'm going to honor that promise. So here's what I do. If I get a connection, or sometimes if I don't, then I will do the next step, which is this. If I don't connect or I just want to put a second message out there, I'll take out the things for connecting. But normally I'll get a connection out of this. And so this is my next step. I don't want to do a sales pitch, but I do want to honor the fact that we're kind of starting a conversation and potentially a relationship. So I literally just introduce myself and that's it. Right? This is me, and this is the second message, and this is the only other message that I send, because invariably most of these, about 40% of these, will turn into a conversation. You will be amazed at how many people will actually send back a similar response, like, "Hey, here's me. This is a good idea," and they'll give me some bullet points, and then from there, that's when I take something unique and start a conversation. And a lot of these turn into conversations. It also allows me to see whether or not it's going to be a fit. A lot of these are not fits, right? Because we're working from that saved search. I'm not trying to overthink that or spend too much time, because this is a scalable strategy. I'm just trying to kind of get that connection pool going, which has a lot of other benefits. And then at this point, I'm starting to filter through that lead and see if this is a legitimate lead that I want to talk to. And then if there's a fit, usually that becomes a mutual conclusion, right? Because both of us are starting to talk, and it's obvious we've got some connections or things in common, and the value proposition seems a little bit obvious. And then usually either myself or the other person, you'll be surprised how many times it's the other person, will say, hey, let's get on a call, right? And boom, now you've got a scheduled appointment and you've just generated a lead. Those are the 4 steps. Follow campaign, comment and like campaign, then your content campaign. You should be doing that anyway, so get that started as early as you can. That gives them something to consume and to buy into, right? They're buying into your philosophy, they're buying into your intellect, they're buying into your expertise, and then from there, introduce the connection. So when that connection comes in, they probably already seen a lot of your stuff, know who you are, makes it a warm connection. Kind of the same approach that we do with email outreach for B2B email marketing. Again, it becomes warm. Most of your leads, you would think, come from connections, and again, that's a very robust lead source, but most of the leads from this process I actually get from my content. So I've pushed out content on a regular basis. I try to do it on a daily basis. That's resonated, and then I get a direct message independent of what I'm doing on sort of connection requests. I get more follows, and then I'll get a direct message where the person says, hey, I saw such and such, can we get together? So that's normally how the LinkedIn lead generation, that's the mix, right? About 40% of them will come from the connections, maybe a little bit lower, and then 60% or maybe a little bit higher will come out of the content. And that's simply said how I go about doing LinkedIn lead generation. So hopefully this has been helpful, give you some ideas. And again, I'll give you another look at this. This is the script I use. You can freeze frame this and do a similar one, but this is super effective, and I can guarantee if you do these 4 steps, you're definitely going to generate some leads via LinkedIn. So if this has been helpful and valuable, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, notification bell, all those nice things that will help this channel grow, and then help me to get in front of more folks like yourself to help them grow their businesses, grow their startups, become a successful founder. So hope to see you on the next one.